All right, it looks like we are now live. So I will pass it over to David to get us started.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm David Krebs. I'm a local Knox teacher and a member of KCEC and SOCM. Tonight's forum is presented by our local public school strong team and SOCM chapter, Knox County Education Coalition. SOCM stands for Statewide Organizing for Community Empowerment. SOCM is a 50-year-old nonpartisan member-led organization dedicated to empowering Tennesseans. We accomplish this by training local leaders and by developing and sustaining long-term democratically run and locally rooted membership organizations throughout the state. The Public School Strong campaign is a campaign led by SOCM, as well as Heal Together that's a national group and out of North Carolina as well, and Tennessee for All. We're a group of parents, educators, and community members who believe that strong schools are foundational to strong communities and essential to building a just multiracial society. Public school strong leaders learn how to advocate at school board meetings with state legislators and in other places of power. Together, these leaders visibly promote, protect, and strengthen public education so that all children benefit, regardless of race, class, background, and zip code. If you want to join our movement, stay tuned. We'll have contact information and dates available at the end of the debate. Now I'll pass the mic to our moderator, Dwayne.
Thank you very much, David. My name is Dwayne Emmert. I am a member of SOCM and a retired educator after 39 years in the classroom in Anderson County Schools. I will be moderating tonight's forum. This is a nonpartisan forum, and all school board candidates were invited. I am joined tonight by District 2 candidates, Jennifer Owen and Ann Templeton. I am joined by District 3 candidate Pat Fontenot Ridley and District 5 candidate Terry Whitaker. Tonight's forum, again for the third time, is nonpartisan, and we will be focused on solutions for supporting our students, teachers, and school staff in Knox County Schools. Each candidate will have 2 minutes at the beginning to tell us why they are running for school board. Then we will enter a round of questions and answers. And during the questions period, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer each question. Every candidate will get a turn to answer, and we will rotate who goes first for each question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to explain why they are running for school board. We will begin with Pat Fontenot Ridley and then go in alphabetical order. Ms. Ridley.
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity to speak and be heard in places that we may not have been heard before. My name is Patricia Fontenot Ridley. I'm running in District 3. I'm a 30-year plus educator with Knox County Schools, 30 years. I taught 50% position in Anderson County Schools. I recently retired. My last day of service was May 24th. So I'm knee deep in on all of the election stuff. The reason I'm running is because I believe that we need people who are knowledgeable about how schools are running, what the teachers are going through, what the students are going through, and pretty much anybody who has anything to do with the school system. A lot of times people look in from the outside and think, why can't they do better? And I would like to be able to tell them why they can't do better. So I want the opportunity to serve. I grew up in District 3. I went to the Cedar Bluff schools and then went to Farragut High School. Immediately went to college at Tennessee Tech, came home, started my career, and been here ever since. So that's pretty much all there is to know about me.
Well, thank you, Ms. Ridley. And next we'll go to Jennifer Owen. Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Owen. I'm running for District 2 Board of Education. I am the incumbent on the board. I'm currently in my second term. This would be my third. When I started this, I never imagined that I would run for a third term. But what I have found in my time on the board is that getting really deeply into the information that we need to be really good school board members takes a very long time, because there are a lot of people who don't want us to have that information. I've also found that we have a lot of really well-heeled people, a lot of really big money, trying to make sure that we don't have any educators on the board. They've worked really hard to remove educators from the board so that the people who understand what's going on the inside can't have a voice. We also have people right now in our community who are trying to add 2 more at-large positions to the board to further dilute the representation that we have. So I think it's really important that we have people on the board who have the experience to know how things are really being run, to have that experience to know where to go to get the information that they need, and to know when that information isn't real, and to also be able to bring out the real truths of what's happening in our community and how it's being pushed into our schools.
Thank you, Ms. Owen. And next we'll hear from Ms. Templeton.
Getting used to the mute. Yes, my name is Ann Templeton, and I am also running in District 2. I am a parent of 2 school-age children. I have been a PTA president and an advocate for arts and education. My kids go to Beaumont Magnet School, and I've been involved there for going on 7 years now. So I'm familiar from a parent perspective. I'm familiar through collaborations with administrators, with teachers, and I have the support of all the teachers that I've worked with there. I believe in listen first advocacy. I believe that we need to ask really good questions and listen for answers. And we need to do some deep digging into data and make decisions based on data and real facts. So I believe that with boots on the ground and talking to people and getting the support of our community and the administrators, teachers, and other parents, I believe that we could do really great things for our students. We can do more. And I believe that there are a lot of voices out there and a lot of people that want to help, and we need to utilize every opportunity out there to do better for our kids.
Thank you very much, Ms. Templeton. And finally, we'll hear from Terry Whitaker. Terry.
Thanks, Dwayne. Thank everybody for being here tonight, and would like to thank SOCM and the entire group for putting this on. I have been in Knoxville off and on since 1981, so I have been a longtime resident here. My daughter graduated from Farragut High School back in 2005. I have substituted in both Farragut and Bearden schools, and I taught for the Huntington Learning Center also here. So I've had kids from kindergarten through 12th grade, although I do remember saying, please don't put me in math beyond middle school, because it had been too long since I had taught math or was in a math class. I always thought that I would be a teacher. And so I think school boards should have teacher representation on them, because they are part and parcel of school systems, and how we make it better for them is, I think, probably one of the most important things that a school board could do. But I also think that we have to look out for both the teachers, as I said, parents, and students. But students, I think, are higher priority than parents, but all of them are important. My daughter graduated quite some time ago, so it's been a while since I was actually in the school system. And I know a lot of things have changed. I loved it when I was in there. I'm not sure that for those of you who are retired teachers and who have just recently left, and those of you who are still there, more power to you. I'm so thankful for everything that you have done and that you continue to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker. The next questions have been developed by our Knox County Education Coalition team. A 90-second timer will be on the screen, and each candidate will get a chance to respond to each question. We will begin with Jennifer Owen this time, and this is the question. How would you address disparities among schools when it comes to resources, discipline, and academic outcomes? You're muted, Jennifer. You're muted.
I'm so sorry.
That's
So
all right. Thank you.
The first thing we have to do to be able to address those disparities and differences is get real information about them. And sometimes getting that real information is a little bit difficult. There's a lot of data out there that is really misused. And I think we can look at testing data as an example of how data is misused. It's important that we go out as school board members and look at the actual situations. It's important that we visit our schools and that we talk to the people in our schools so that we find out whether what we're looking at on paper is what the real situation is. Does that data that we're looking at on paper match what we're being told is happening in the classroom? Does it match the experiences that our parents are telling us their students are having? Does it match the experiences our students are telling us they're having? And I think before we go out and just start addressing things, we have to make sure that we have an understanding of exactly where those disparities are and look at how to address them that way.
Thank you very much. Anne, same question. How would you address disparities among schools when it comes to resources, discipline, and academic outcomes?
Well, I think that there are disparities throughout by virtue of socioeconomics, by virtue of culture, by virtue of pre-existing thoughts and ideas as kids go into schools. And of course, abilities of students, but we need to reach every single one of these kids. That's the task of the public school system. And that means that we have to put aside pride, and we need to look at the decisions that have been made in the past and actually track those decisions. We need to look at data. We need to, again, put pride aside to say, okay, do we need to take a right here? Do we need to take a left here? How do we serve all students well? And we need to support them, especially those marginalized children. They exist. And I do believe that the anecdotal conversations are important, but fundamentally we need to make sure that the data is correct, and that we are tracking each one of these things, the resources, of course, as including foundations and how those disproportionately help kids across the county. And then, of course, discipline, making sure that there aren't any disparities there, because there are, and some of that isn't currently being tracked. And then academic outcomes, of course, with the standardized testing.
Thank you very much. Ms. Whitaker, same question. Addressing disparities among schools when it comes to resources, discipline, and academic outcomes.
Yes, I agree. There are disparities with regard to staff, resources, and discipline throughout the entire system. I'm not sure that there's a school system anywhere that doesn't have some disparities. I think one of the things that we might be able to do is the schools that have the biggest challenge is that you provide incentives to get the best teachers to go there, to see if that can work into changing some of the disparities in that respect. You also need to see about trying to get more parental involvement, not in every school, because in some schools that's not an issue, but in other schools it is. I think you also need to look at the facilities. I think some of our facilities need desperately to be updated, to be replaced. And yet I learned, and those of you who are teachers, and Jennifer, you can probably collaborate or corroborate this, is that you are not allowed in this state to build to projections. you have to have the numbers before you can build a new school. And I think that is, if that is correct, that is very short-sighted on the legislature's part. So just a lot of collaboration and working between people, I think, can help with regard to some of these issues.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, let me change the sound.
All
on
right.
the timer.
Is that the Oscars? Wrap it up. That's so funny. Love
All
it.
right. And finally, Ms. Ridley, how would you address disparities among schools when it comes to resources, discipline, and outcomes?
So with a
I'm sorry.
So with a school system this large and all of the different types of communities that we have, there are different needs in each community. It's not a question of equality and everybody having the same books and everybody having the same tests and everybody having the same of everything. It's a matter of equity, that the schools that struggle need more support. They need more, I guess, more support. The disparities in discipline, I have seen it just in my school. Sometimes kids are not disciplined as harshly when they do the same type of offense. However, we also need to look at why they're behaving the way that they are. A cookie cutter way of discipline doesn't work from from North Knoxville to South Knoxville, from East Knoxville to West Knoxville. We need to find out what is going on in that child's community, in that child's home, to cause them to behave the way that they are. As far as funding, we need to pay attention to teachers and what they feel like they need for the classroom. Cookie cutter, scripted curriculum are not working. And so we need to do something better and more creative in that front.
Thank you. Our next question, moving on to our second question from Knox County Education Coalition, is, and we'll begin with Ann Templeton. Ms. Templeton, how do you plan to collaborate with stakeholders if elected to the board? Thinking of other board members, teachers, students, the Knox County Education Association, and community groups.
I think regular communication is key. I think we need to be open to having communication on hard topics. We need to have communication sometimes when it's not easy, and we need to be respectful because we aren't going to come at a problem from the same perspective, and we need to make sure that we can collaborate and connect and create and problem solve effectively. And that's really where it starts, is with communication and being respectful. We need to make sure that we have the proper input from the stakeholders, whoever it is impacting, whether that's teachers or it is administrators, it's maybe parents and it may be the community members, whatever it happens to be. We need to make sure that those people are part of that conversation. And then looping them back in before the final vote is taken. I think sometimes we do a lot of pre-work, put together a solution, and then don't go back to those stakeholders. And I think it is important to loop people back in. And again, communication. I think that you know, in my business as I'm working, it's crucial to include people and make sure that they are heard and respected. And that is really how problems are solved.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Templeton. Ms. Whitaker, how do you plan to collaborate with stakeholders if elected to the board, thinking of other board members, teachers, students, the Knox County Education Association, and community groups?
First and foremost, would reach out to the other members of the school board, some of whom I know reasonably well, others I don't. But I think it's always a good thing to sit down and talk with those individuals personally, and find out a little bit about them and where they see the school board going and where the school system's going. I would also like to talk with the various teachers, administrators, PTOs, anybody within the community who wants to talk about their perceptions of where the school board needs to be working, what actually is working for them, what's not working for them, and then go forward from there. Being a good listener. I mean, that's first and foremost. As a newbie to the school board, I mean, I don't know that I would be real vocal initially. I think I would be using my ears first and foremost to hear what's going on, and then begin to express opinions and so forth of my own. So listening, communication, trying to get everybody on the same page if at all possible.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker. And same question for Ms. Ridley. How do you plan to collaborate with your stakeholders if elected to the board, thinking of other board members, teachers, students, the Knox County Education Association, and community groups?
Our school communities love their public schools. We need to make sure that parents are invited into the schools. Parental suggestions are listened to and not just tossed aside because, oh, well, that person doesn't sound like they know what they're talking about. Parents know their kids. They know what their kids are interested in. And we need to make sure that we provide opportunities for those parents to have a voice. I have been on leadership positions with KCEA, so I know how supportive they are. I know that all of their information is research oriented and research driven, and we need to listen to them so that we have a good idea of what we are facing with disparities, with book bans, with minority affairs. It's a lot, but they know what they're talking about. If we are going to get serious about having the strongest school system as possible, the school board needs to listen to each other. We can't just totally shut off what somebody is saying because they're a Republican or they're a Democrat. We need to listen to the experience that they have, and we need to actually hash things out. We need to talk about it. Why do they think that, and how can we help?
Thank you very much, Ms. Ridley. And Ms. Owen, it'll be the same question. How do you plan to collaborate with stakeholders if elected to the board, thinking of other board members, teachers, students, Knox County Education Association, and community groups?
Thank you. I think the first thing to remember always is that all Knox County citizens are our stakeholders. All Knox County citizens are our constituents. If we keep that in mind, I think that helps us to be able to collaborate much better when we realize that the word stakeholder isn't one particular group. It isn't just these people or these people. It is everyone in Knox County, and every person in this county should have an equal voice in what's happening with our schools. How our schools work and how our schools grow and how our students learn will impact everyone in this county, and they all deserve to be heard. So to collaborate with folks, the first thing that I do is I make myself available. I make myself available wherever someone would like me to be available. Sometimes it's not a place where I'm most comfortable being, but wherever people would like to speak with me, that's where I go. Sometimes I will just go to central office and just be there for an afternoon. And if anyone wants to come and talk to me, I am there, I'm available. If teachers are more comfortable talking away from school, then we will set up something away from school. If parents want me to come to them, I go to them. If they prefer to come to me, they can come to me. Whatever works for the other person, that's the way that I need to collaborate with them. I need to go where the people are, where they are comfortable speaking with me, and I need to be willing to hear absolutely everything.
Thank you very much, Ms. Owen. Moving on to the third question. This is a yes or no question with explanation, a brief explanation. We'll start with Terry Whitaker. Ms. Whitaker, do you support vouchers or the expansion of charter schools? Briefly explain.
I am not a supporter of vouchers. And that is something that I'm hearing from pretty much everybody that I've knocked doors for. I mean, that's their number one issue. The reason I'm not for vouchers is that it takes money away from public schools. And public schools should be receiving the public taxpayer dollars that are supposed to come to it. And I'm not sure they get everything that they should get from the taxpayers based upon what the legislature is providing, and also from our various internal sources, such as our county commissioners, that sort of thing. With regard to charter schools, I have mixed emotions with regard to charter schools. I think they could potentially meet some good needs that need to be dealt with. So I'm open to listening to them, but they've got to prove to me that it's worth taking taxpayer dollars to put into charter schools. But definitely no on vouchers. No.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ridley, same question. Do you support vouchers or the expansion of charter schools, and briefly explain?
I do not support either one. Vouchers, of course, take money out of our public schools, and our communities thrive on our public schools. The tax money that is going into the schools needs to stay there. People say, well, I don't want my tax dollars to go to public schools. And I don't know how many people pay $7,000 in taxes, typical people, maybe somebody does. So it's not really their money, and once it is collected. I believe that the money that we need in schools go to hiring teachers, hiring staff. Our class sizes need to be manageable. I know that at my school, they were pretty manageable because they were smaller, but I know that there are some classes that are just too big. So we need more staff. Charter schools, I don't see the outcomes that they think they're going to provide for these kids that are going there. Typically, their testing is not any better than a public school. They have uniforms, which is fine, but that's not what makes them get better. Our students need highly qualified public school teachers in every school and in every classroom.
Thank you very much. Ms. Owen, same question. Do you support vouchers or the expansion of charter schools?
No. Vouchers and expanding charter schools both take away from public oversight. When we look at the whole purpose of our tax dollars are collected for the good of the public. They're collected for public services, and they are collected so that the people in the communities have oversight of how their dollars are being spent. So if we look at voucher programs, we are not looking at any kind of oversight of that money. Lots of times the argument is, well, the parent is the oversight. Well, no, they're not. When you just take that money and move it somewhere else, that's not oversight. That's not making sure that curriculum is being delivered. It's not making sure that there's any fiduciary responsibility at all. And when we look at charter schools, we are looking at multi-year contracts. We are looking at something that we can almost not do anything about for the first 10 years. And that's millions of dollars taken away from the local schools. And even though they are supposedly public charter schools, the real oversight for them is in their own board. So the public does not have oversight of those charter schools. Their own board has that oversight, and maybe some parents can talk to that board, maybe not. The last charter school that we brought into Knox County, their board is in Chattanooga. So if a parent wants to talk to their board, they have to drive to Chattanooga to do that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Owen. And finally, Ms. Templeton, do you support vouchers or the expansion of charter schools? You there? Okay, thank you.
There we go. I was on it.
Okay.
The short answer is no. Vouchers for all of the obvious reasons that everybody here has said several times over, that vouchers by definition defund our public schools. And we need to make sure that public tax dollars are used to support our public school systems, and all children in Knox County need to be recipients of that funding. So we need to make sure that if when we look at these programs like vouchers, should we have the opportunity to vote, we absolutely need to vote no. We need to lobby against them. And we need to be very vocal from the Knox County board, school board, to our state legislatures to say no. In regard to the charter schools, there's a byproduct to charter schools. When you're taking kids away from public schools and into charter schools, oftentimes there's a opportunity for those public schools to lose Title I funding, which again leaves children without the resources they need to succeed. It again leaves teachers underfunded, and can do harm to the remaining kids in those public schools. I do believe that there has to be an exit plan in place for any future charter schools, or it's really a non-starter.
Thank you very much, Ms. Templeton. So moving on, this is question 4, and it is what solutions do you propose to retain and attract high quality teachers for Knox County schools? And we'll start with Pat.
I was a I still am a highly qualified teacher. And mainly the thing that kept me in it, of course, were the children, but also competitive salaries. I started teaching as a single mother, made as much money as I possibly could by coaching cheerleaders, which was fun. And I think we need to pay them what they're worth. I think the raise that just came through did a good job of giving the teachers raises. And now we need to make sure that our support staff, our custodians and our cafeteria workers and our teaching assistants get a big raise as well. They got one a couple years ago, but it barely brought them up to a living wage, if it did at all. As far as attracting teachers, I think we need to be a school system that has a reputation for respecting our teachers. I know that a lot of teachers that I've spoken to feel very disrespected by the communities, by the parents, even by some of the administrators. So we need to make sure that we are treating our teachers with respect. As far as retaining, we need to make sure that we are doing right by our teachers.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ridley. Ms. Owen, same question. What solutions do you propose to retain and attract high quality teachers for Knox County schools?
I think when we're looking at competitive pay, that's a piece of it, but that competitive pay doesn't reach far enough when we're looking at the respect issue that Pat talked about. If our teachers are not feeling that they are respected and valued in the classroom, then there's no amount of pay that can make up for that. We also need to have adequate staff throughout the building to support teachers. We need to have all of our teaching assistants need to also be paid well so that they feel valued in our schools. If we have teachers who can never take a break from their classroom, if they can never have a bathroom break, then that is it's a working condition that is really damaging. And I think all of those things that we can do to make sure they have the resources they need, whether it's resources of more people, resources of supplies in the classroom, even such resources as having appropriate desks and chairs. All of those things that we need in the classroom, we need to hear from our teachers, and we need to make sure that they have those things so that they can do the job they're there to do.
Thank you very much, Ms. Owen. Ms. Templeton, same question. What solutions do you propose to retain and attract high-quality teachers for Knox County schools?
We need to make sure that teachers can say what they need to say, and we need to make sure that they can use the degree that they worked hard to get. We need that. That is across the board in any profession, and it is mind-boggling, frankly, that at this point, the most important profession in my estimation has somewhat been silenced. And we need to make sure that it's a safe place for teachers to say, this is what I need to do my job effectively. And maybe that is assistance in the classroom. Maybe that is mental health opportunities. Maybe that is making sure that all of the supports are there for them. Yes, financially, we need to take care of them. There need to be additional raises, if at all possible. But I know that that is not a school board decision. That's really a county commission issue. But we can do things on the intangible front to make sure that teachers feel supported, feel like they have a voice, and that we are actively working to make their job easier and their pathway clearer for them to reach every kid where they are to reach their potential.
Thank you very much, Ms. Templeton. And Terry Whitaker, this is the same question. What solutions do you propose to retain and attract high-quality teachers for Knox County schools?
Well, ditto for what has been said. Yes, salary is important, but it's not the final thing. Respect is definitely a big thing that teachers deserve and should be getting from everybody. But also, as was said, the ability to have autonomy over what they teach and how they teach, I think is important. They should have smaller classes because kids need a teacher who can spend time with them. And if you've got a large class, then it's very difficult to give each student the time and attention that they need. So therefore, they need the resources to have assistants within the classroom, to have smaller class sizes. They need to be able to feel like they can take time off if they need to. And they also should not be doing jobs that other people within the school should be doing. And so salary is important, as I said, but I think that's not the be all and end all for everything, but it is definitely important, and teachers have been undervalued for far too long.
Thank you very much. And this will move to our final question that was submitted by the Knox County Education Coalition. And we will start with Ms. Owen. Knox County recently implemented a historic raise for personnel. And this was discussed a little earlier. What are your reactions to this? And how will you commit to supporting all school staff in the future if elected?
I think this historic raise was put into effect way too quickly. The board was not given adequate information before they were asked to vote. The board still doesn't have adequate information. I have been pushing for 3 months now for the board to have all information about all of those salary pieces, and the board still doesn't have them. When we are making decisions like that and a vote is brought to the board, our administration has a responsibility to give us all of those pieces of information we need to make good decisions. We should not have 1,500 employees who are in absolute turmoil over their salaries. We should not have 1,500 employees who can't get answers from HR. We should not have employees trying to call HR, and if they push the button that says they're an employee, they get no answer. But if they say they're not a school employee, they get an answer. All of that is completely unacceptable. And I think our board has to accept complete responsibility. The buck stops with the superintendent and the board. And continuing to call it historic raises is very unfair to those people who have been horribly devalued.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ms. Templeton, same question. Knox County implemented a historic raise for personnel. What are your reactions to this? And how will you commit to supporting all school staff in the future if elected?
Sure, I think that raises need to include all of the support staff, as well as the teachers. Everybody who is under that roof needs to be valued financially, as well as you know, separately than that. We need to make sure that yes, all the data and all the information for any decision that comes before the board needs to be there. They should have had all the breakdowns available for every person that would be affected before pushing go. But I do believe that it's a step in the right direction. It's important to recognize that teachers need to be paid more. It is important to have that conversation and make sure that teachers receive some sort of compensation. And then again, like I've said before, humbly say, okay, this was rushed. We need to make some amendments. We need to move forward. Not every decision is perfect on the front end, but we need to be humble to make those changes on the back end if they are necessary. And it sounds like as I've been knocking doors and talking to teachers and professionals and support staff and psychologists, etc., changes need to be made.
Thank you very much, Ms. Templeton. Ms. Whitaker, it's the same question. Knox County implemented a historic raise for personnel. What are your reactions to this? And will you commit to supporting all school staff in the future if elected?
I was happy to see the pay raise. I think the rollout was less than appropriate, shall we say. And I'm very happy for the teachers that were able to get a pay raise to make them a little more competitive with the counties around us. I think there needs to be some definite situation improvement with regard to the custodians and the other members. What I'm hearing from teachers and people who fill those roles is they're not getting much of anything, and that's one of the reasons why there are openings that cannot be filled. But yes, I will support the need for a pay raise and hopefully to vote for a pay raise for everybody that did not get one through this particular raise that started July 1st.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ridley, same question. Knox County implemented a historic raise for personnel. What are your reactions to this, and how will you commit to supporting all school staff in the future if elected?
Well, right off the bat, I'm wondering if I should have stayed one more year. I know that teachers got a really good bump as long as you stayed in a teaching position. It seems like when they were doing the schedules that they didn't take into account years of service. I mean, I've talked to people in the system who moved into a different, like a supervisory position, and when they got their new salary schedule, it was less than what they were making before, and they would have made more money going back into the classroom. I think it was confusing how they rolled it out. I don't know how many phone calls I got because I was still a representative for KCEA about, why are they giving me this? Why aren't they giving me that? I think everybody in the county should receive a living wage. And I think that some people were left behind. I'm not sure exactly what market value is, what market they're pulling that from, but I know that our young teachers can hardly find housing. Apartments are too expensive. Buying a house is even harder without help. So I think we need to make sure that we compensate our school staff, our school administrators, our whole system, so that we can actually live in the economy that we're in.
Thank you very much. And thank each of you candidates for your responses and for being here and your time and your willingness to. I am very honored to sit here and ask you these questions. I just want to share that with you. These next questions were submitted by the community members who registered for this event. Again, you'll have 90 seconds to answer each question with a timer on the screen. We'll start with Ms. Templeton, and this is the question. Last September, the Board of Education passed a resolution based on recommendations from a parent-teacher task force on how we can improve special education and ensure federal law is upheld consistently. How will you support students who receive special education services and their families?
Yeah, it's important. Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Almost started talking there. Yeah, it's important to make sure that we properly staff it. That when we implement measures to help special ed, ELL classrooms, etc., that we staff them. We make sure that they are supported. I know that part of the resolution was to make sure that there are inclusion opportunities for those kids. And we need to make sure that all those classrooms have the right people in there to make sure that no kid or child is misses out, that they are all their needs are met to allow for educational growth, both the mainstream kids and the special ed kids, because it's important for everyone that they are together. Also need to make sure that they are paid properly. Those special ed assistants aren't. I know we just talked about funding and we just talked about salaries, but that is something that I had a long conversation with the school psychologist the other day, and that was her main thing that she wanted to get across. So talking to them, hearing their needs, making sure that we go back after our resolution is passed to make sure that things are happening as planned.
Thank you very much. Ms. Whitaker, same question. Last September, the Board of Education passed a solution based on recommendations from a parent-teacher task force on how we can improve special education and ensure federal law is upheld consistently. How will you support students who receive special ed services and their families?
Well, communication. You want to talk to both the parents and the students, if possible, to see how they are doing in the classroom setting. Have things improved? Are they still where they were? What's going on? You want to talk to the new guy, and I'm drawing a total blank on his name, who took on the role overseeing special ed, and I know that he is trying to come up to speed, but I think spending a lot of time with him and his staff to see what's going on there. And then you want to make sure that things are being implemented to meet the needs both of the teachers, the kids, and that we're following the law. So you've got to follow, you've got to check all of that, but definitely following up with parents and teachers and students if possible, as well as the staff who are responsible for it. Because you shouldn't pass a resolution if you're not going to follow up and hold people accountable.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker. And Pat Ridley, last September, the Board of Education passed a resolution and on recommendations from a parent-teacher task force on how we can improve special ed and ensure federal law is upheld consistently. How will you support students who receive special education services and their families?
Our special ed departments are crucial in making sure that our special ed students get all of the supports they need. The challenge is staffing. I know that we started the year short of enough special ed teachers in my building, and I'm sure that was not the only one. We need to make it so that teachers feel respected and valued so that they may go and get a special ed endorsement so that we have the knowledge in the building, even if they're not in a special ed classroom, they have that in-depth knowledge that that they need to provide the services. In my positions as a physical education teacher, I saw every student every week, and we had books that were an inch thick with the IEPs that we have to go by to make sure that they are getting the services they need. I think we also need to make sure that our teachers who have those students in their regular classroom are supported and to be respectful of their time. We need to make sure that the meetings are efficient, but cover everything, and we need to make sure that we respect the teacher's time.
Thank you, Ms. Ridley. Ms. Owen, last September, the Board of Education passed a resolution based on recommendations from Parent-Teacher Task Force on how we can improve special education and ensure federal law is upheld consistently. How will you support students who receive special ed services and their family?
I think a lot of times a place where we have opportunity for growth is in helping our parents understand what their rights are. Lots of times parents come into meetings and they have a packet that they're given that has, this giant list of all of the things that they can do. But we need to really make sure that we are communicating clearly with parents to help them understand that they have rights in that meeting and that they are there to be the advocate for their child as well as the teachers who are in that meeting, and that we want to hear what the parent has to say about their child. I heard it really expressed well by one of the special ed teachers that I worked with for a while. We were all in a meeting with the parent, and she said, I have taught a lot of 9-year-old boys, and so I know what is typical for 9-year-old boys. But you, the parent, you are the expert in your 9-year-old boy. And so we want to know what is typical for your 9-year-old boy. And so she really made it clear to the parent that the parent has expertise in that meeting that is hugely important. And I think communicating that to parents is hugely important in helping make sure students get their needs met.
Thank you very much. And our second question from our community members who registered for this event is as follows, and we'll start with Ms. Whitaker. How do you intend to equitably support and promote the inclusion of all learners in Knox County schools?
Well, communication, I think, is probably the key to this. You want to start by asking the staff who are in charge of ensuring that the inclusion of all learners is actually being done within the school system, what their respective plans are, where they stand on accomplishing those plans. And then I would also talk to the students to see how they feel like the schools are meeting their needs if they are being included. Once you find where the two groups are, you kind of try to figure out how do we get the two together so we're moving forward in the way that it should be, because no student, regardless of where they are or what the situation is, should feel like that they are not included in the school system, because that is the one place where everybody should be equal, because it's supposed to be the community spot for everyone. And so you want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Thank you very much. Pat, how do you intend to equitably support and promote the inclusion of all learners in Knox County schools?
The equitable support of our students is so important, and the whole idea behind equitable means that each individual student receives the help that that individual student needs. We can't write IEPs, just say like a form going this, 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 this. Each student needs their own, and they receive their own. The beauty of a public school is that we accept everybody that walks through the door. Even though we have to by law, I know that the teachers that I've taught with in the past, they open their doors and open their arms and welcome them into their classrooms. We have a duty to make sure that all of our students have the opportunity to get the education that they deserve through Knox County schools.
Thank you, Ms. Ridley. Jennifer Owen, how do you intend to equitably support and promote the inclusion of all learners in Knox County schools?
So I think we need to really listen when we are told that something is not happening or that something is happening. First thing we need to do is believe that what we are being told is accurate. And then we need to go and look. We need to find out. If we have a parent telling us one thing and staff telling us something different, then we need to look into that further. We need to be sure that when we are faced with an issue, that we believe it first. Hugely important for us not to look at it in a way of, I don't think this is really true. The first thing we should do is believe, yes, this is true. I'm being given this information. And then we need to go and investigate that information. And I think that addressing those issues really honestly and individually is the best way to make sure that those issues are no longer issues. We need to make sure that parents and students and teachers are comfortable bringing those issues to us so that we can fully investigate any lack of inclusion anywhere. Every child has a right to be in the least restrictive environment possible, and that's what we should be working toward every day.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Templeton, it's the same question. How do you intend to equitably support and promote the inclusion of all learners in Knox County schools?
I'm going to first, of course, echo what has already been said. Clearly, we need to listen first. We need to take action when it is necessary, and we need to investigate whenever there are issues that may arise, whether it's from a teacher, a parent, a student, and there needs to not be any kind of retribution attached to that. And I'm actually going to take a little bit different tack to that when it comes to inclusion. We need to look at representation. We need to look at representation in our books in the library. We need to look at representation of the teachers that we hire. Make sure that we are hiring excellent teachers that also reflect the student body that they are teaching. So I think that we can go a little bit further with inclusion to make sure that students feel encouraged and can find connection with the leaders underneath the roof of the school building.
Thank you very much. Thank all of you very much. Closing statements. Candidates, we will now have 60 seconds each to offer any closing statements. Then afterward, we will share some of the next steps with attendees on how to get involved locally to support our public schools. And we will begin with Pat Fontenot Ridley to do a closing statement.
First of all, thank you again for allowing us to be able to be here and speak to these questions. It's important that people know how we feel and what we believe. I am a proud product of public schools. My parents were proud products of public schools, and several of my relatives are also teachers. So it's in my blood, and I am up for the challenge. I want to make sure that everybody in the community is represented, not just the Democrats or just the Republicans, but the community is only as strong as its connection with each other. So I want to make sure that I am giving the best possible representation if I'm elected. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Jennifer Owen, closing statement.
Thank you. I was a teacher for 23 years. 18 of those years was in Knox County schools. I have seen things go from really terrible morale to the opposite end of the spectrum, where teachers felt that they could come and tell us absolutely anything in a board meeting, and I've seen it swing back the other way. So I think it is really important that we have board members who are willing to go out into the community and really ask, really deeply ask, and intentionally ask about issues that are there before things get to a point where we have morale issues. I think it is important that we have we really have a grasp on the pulse of what's happening in our schools, so that we can make sure that we have people who are comfortable there, so that our students can learn well from them.
Thank you very much, Ms. Owen. Ann Templeton, your closing statement.
Yes. Thank you for hosting this forum. I very much appreciate it. And today, definitely appreciate the Zoom option. That was wonderful. I will say that I'm a boots on the ground leader. I'm a listen first, and a listener by nature and a doer by trade. That's how I function. I believe that asking really good questions and being present in the schoolhouse, clearly when invited or otherwise, but also being the one to reach out, to send emails, to do check-ins, and to follow up when people ask questions and need help with things. I believe that the school board members are boots on the ground. They're the face for everyone who walks in the schoolhouse. So that is my plan. Should I be elected?
Thank you very much, Ms. Templeton. And finally, Ms. Whitaker, your closing statements.
I'd like to thank everybody for providing this opportunity for all of us. It's interesting to hear our different perspectives, but I think we're all moving in the same direction, which I think is really good. And I think that we would make excellent additions to the school board. I'm a little concerned with the direction that it's currently going, so there definitely needs to be some changes, and I think that we would bring interesting perspectives. But I plan on listening to people. I want to represent all of the community, and actually not just my community in District 5, even though that's who I would be there for. I would also feel like I am a representative for the entire county. And I think that is something that I am not currently seeing by members of the school board, or some of them. So
thank you, Ms. Whitaker. Thank each of you for your participation. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to everyone who submitted questions, is currently watching right now, either in the Zoom room or on Facebook Live. I'm really thankful to have you. I'm gonna, before we leave, I want to let you all know how you can get involved in this good work of winning the schools that our communities deserve. So I am going to share my screen real quick with some next steps and resources, and would love to follow up with you. So give me just a second to get this pulled up. Having some grace with the virtual facilitating here. All right. All right, so if you can see my my screen here, So SOCM, like David explained at the beginning, is we are a people group. We are driven by people power, and we've been doing that for the last 5 decades. A few years ago, it was decided by our members that public education is a big deal and something that we need to organize around. And so we launched Public School Strong in October as a way to teach people how to engage on a local level to win honest, equitable, safe, and fully funded public schools. On a statewide level, that means that we're fighting for fully resourced classrooms, restorative accountability, and whole child learning. We want to make sure that our schools are the center of our communities and treated as the cornerstones of democracy that we know that they are. And we have the people power to make that happen when we come together. So you can see here some pictures of what we've been up to across the state, whether it's in Nashville or at our local county commission meetings or at our school board meetings. Parents, teachers, neighbors are coming together and noticing how much they appreciate their schools, and also figuring out together what are the common solutions that we can find to win the honest, equitable, safe, and fully funded schools that our students deserve. We believe that by sharing our vision widely and doing so through this Public School Strong framework, that we're laying the groundwork that we need to keep winning the issues that matter to us. This year, we were successful in defeating a voucher scam that would have diverted funds from our public schools. And that was only possible because of the people like you in Knoxville and in communities across the state who are fighting together and saying, actually, I know a better way that we can spend that $140 million, and that's investing in our teachers and students and school staff. So it was thanks to Public School Strong members that this forum happened. There's forums happening across the state in different communities, and these are totally led by parents, teachers, and community members who really care. So if you are interested in joining this movement, we want to have you. We host trainings on how to get involved, how do you attend a school board meeting, what is this about? We host those orientations the third Monday of each month. Our next one is going to be on August 19th on Zoom. It's a 90-minute training, and if you attend to make the pledge, you will also get this Public School Strong t-shirt. If you've been attending school board meetings in Knox County, you've probably seen a few of our folks. We believe that this is a visible movement, and it's really cool to be a part of, and the shirts are great. You definitely should join. And so you can find all of our registration links. We do more than just the orientations. We have lots of events coming up. On July 25th, we're being part of a national event to talk about the voucher fight. And then we've got lots of other trainings that we offer. And you can find all of those at linktr.ee, Linktree at SOCM Public Ed. And if you register for this event, I'll follow up with an email with all that information. I also want to say that early voting is open. If you go to Go Vote TN, you can find information about your polling place to vote. These local elections matter. What happens in our school board meetings sets the stage for what's happening across the state. So it's important to stay involved and stay connected. So I really hope that I see you at our next orientation and that we can send you one of these t-shirts to join the team. We also, our local Knox County team has been doing amazing work last year with some listening sessions and hearing from the community, and it's got really exciting things in the works over the next year. And if you would like to join us for that, KCEC meets at Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church the second Wednesdays of each month at 6. And I'll also follow up that information if you registered for this event. If you didn't and you're watching on Facebook, I would love to connect with you, and you can reach me at liv@socm.org, and I'd love to connect you with some of our great folks. That concludes the Knox County School Board Candidate Forum. Thank you so much for being here. If we all want to give like a little bit of, if people want to come off mute and like make some noise for our school board candidates for being here and for each other, would love to give them a good
woohoo! Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being here, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.